What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Money Moves, powered by ARK Invest, brought to you by Point Forward. Myself, Andre Iguodala, and my main man, Evan Turner. Today, we bring a special guest from ARK Invest, the Chief Futurist, Brett Winton. Brett, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. I'm gonna give a quick bio for you, just in case the fan base listens to me when they should be listening to you. Funny how the influencer world works. But you joined ARK in February 2014 after working alongside Kathy for 15 years, your time at AllianceBernstein. And as Chief Futurist, you drive ARK's long-term forecast across convergent technologies, economies, and asset classes, helping ARK dimension the impact of disruptive innovation as it transforms public equities, private equities, crypto assets, fixed income, and the global economy. You also serve on the ARK Venture Investment Committee. Want to talk about that, as I am on an investment committee, and just learning your value when you do join committees. We got a lot of NBA players who are getting into the venture world or PE world as partners. It's been very interesting.
Kyle Kuzma.
Kyle Kuzma is GP of a spot now, and just athletes are starting to grow into that realm. Want to know about the investment committee? You also joined ARK as the director of research, guiding and managing the proprietary research of ARK's investment team. Prior to ARK, Brett served as a vice president and senior analyst on the research on strategic change, their team at AllianceBernstein, along with Kathy. And in that role, you conducted the thematic research, served on the thematic portfolio strategy committee under Kathy, stewardship, and advised portfolio managers across asset classes. Your research topics included global energy in the face of carbon dioxide regulation. I have an amazing story on carbon outputs I want to tell you about.
Hear it.
Also social media and the rise of Facebook. That's interesting. I want to hear your take on sports. We got a lot to talk about. And the reformation of the financial services landscape and the emergence of electric vehicles, which we will definitely get into. Brett, you earned your Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Welcome to the show. You have an Hall of Famers resume, so congrats to that as you continue to build.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us. One thing, obviously, we were down at ARK Invest a couple months ago. We were able to meet with Kathy. We had a great, run-in with everybody at the ARK Invest office, and they sang your praises numerous in high form. And we were wondering, once we were sitting with a chief futurist, we were like, that's dope, but what the hell is that? You know what I mean? So explain to us, what you do over at ARK Invest and what the, title of chief futurist is, and, how you really are really setting the tone and trailblazing.
Yeah, at ARK, we really focus on identifying transformative technologies, and that requires us to understand how quickly they're declining in costs, and then the unit economics of different end buyers at different price points. And so the role of the chief futurist is really to kind of manage the forecasting of those technologies. So how quickly is AI declining in cost year over year? And then how big a market is it going to be? As it turns out, we think AI software is going to be a $13 trillion market by 2030. And there's a lot that goes into coming up with that number. And so the chief futurist role is really to kind of guide those top-down forecasts and then control how they translate into our expectations for the individual companies.
That was probably the most eloquent way that someone could explain that and understand it. And so I have a very high level of respect for folks who can explain things to folks who don't understand their world in a manner that they can take it in and, use it going forward.
True signs of a teacher.
Well, I think that actually being able to explain things, actually trying to explain things, trying to write them down, trying to commit yourself to numbers is the best way to actually learn about them yourself. Hopefully I can explain it well, because it's my entire life's work that I'm doing is being a futurist. And, if I stumble over explaining it, that's a sign to me, and not just at a, what do I do as a job, but at a technology level, at a company level, it's a sign to me of areas that I need to deepen my understanding. So like you said, like I think the best learners are also the best teachers because they use the teaching process to understand where they need to learn themselves.
Oh no, that's legit. I was wondering. So when you're talking about the ARK Venture Fund, and obviously you helped create it, you're part of it, and everything. Could you really walk some of our listeners through how you be part of it and a vision for the fund, and what you see towards that future? Obviously, you mentioned a couple of fields where by 2030, you believe 30 trillion could be generated from those avenues. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So from the beginning of ARK, we've been doing research at the technology level, and then that's required us to talk to a bunch of private companies. And oftentimes companies had come to us and been like, hey, we're doing a Series B, you should invest with us. And up until, basically last year, we didn't have a mechanism by which to allow clients to invest. And the reason we didn't, along the way, we thought, well, maybe we could do a traditional GP LP venture structure. And the reason we didn't is because we felt like it was a little bit unfair that only accredited investors, so investors that have a certain net worth, are allowed to invest in innovation companies. And so then in figuring out, ultimately we committed to doing venture when we realized we could package a venture portfolio into what's called an interval fund, which is then interval funds are designed for holding illiquid assets. And they're 40 Act funds, meaning that anybody can invest whether or not they're accredited. And so that was kind of like the reason we crossed the threshold of deciding to do it. And then at the individual company level and at the technology level, we have, very, I'd say differentiated expectations for how the different technologies are going to perform. And some of those expectations, you can't really find them in the public equity market. So Figure AI is a humanoid robot company that's in the venture portfolio. There's not really a comparable pure play asset in the public markets and the public equity space. And we think that humanoid robots are going to be a very big commercial category by 2030. So it's, time to put money in play now. And we didn't have a mechanism by which to do it before. Now with the venture portfolio, we do.
I got a tough question for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not sure. Feel nervous.
No, you're saying, the AI humanoid robots, right?
Yes.
And we've all seen iRobot. And so I'm not thinking about iRobot, but there have been a few instances where they all can connect to the same network and communicate with one another, right? But I'm going a step further in terms of, our systems. And so even the Star Spangled Banner, for example, its roots naturally exist from the late 1700s, early 1800s, right? And there's, obviously what's embedded in there was the fabric of America back then. And so, there were, different levels of human and your rights. And so it's saying that when we're building AI and we talk about, being equality across the board, is so you have everyone's take on how we should, systems should be built based on the whole and not just a few parts. And I have seen where AI will only take a certain perspective and miss out on other perspectives. And then that's when you have policing problems. So I'm thinking about the robots and being the police officers, right? So
I see. Yeah.
How do we come to this world where AI is taking everyone into consideration and that everyone is being taken care of? Because this goes to everything, even with,
Sure.
the food imbalance. Like there's so many people that are starving, but we waste, I think, a third of all our food, like globally. Like we waste so much food. It's just kind of crazy. And I am seeing how there's a company that you could take a picture of your refrigerator and it'll tell you what you have and it'll give you a recipe based on what's in your refrigerator. So now we're solving for wasting food. And so that's one particular way. But on the policing side, like, how do you see us in terms of building out, government type policy and things of that nature?
Yeah. So, first, I think the premise of your question is won't an AI system that's based upon historical data just kind of amplify historical biases that are in place and make them worse? And it's possible that it would. If you have kind of the training data, embeds certain expectations, it might take those and, if not carefully designed, just magnify those. It's basically people that live in this neighborhood are more frequently criminals, and therefore we should arrest them with a higher frequency. Well, that's like profoundly unfair. And so there does have to be like good design principles to make sure that the system doesn't over-index on kind of like a data set that might be biased that it's taking in. And so a lot of companies are doing, I'd say, really critically important work to figure out how to make sure that the systems are not just like amplifying previous biases, but operating on objective truth. And I think it's broadly true across technologies that these technologies are profoundly democratizing. Like take robo-taxis, for example. Right now, like riding around in an Uber is actually a luxury purchase. Like $3.50 a mile is really expensive for people. If you converted it into how expensive your car would be, if you were to pay $3.50 per mile for all of your miles traveled, it would be like a $200,000 or $300,000 car. There's not many people that can do that. And it's remarkably convenient to be able to be like, I want to start at point A and end up at point B without having to even deal with the pain and agony of driving. And that's what robo-taxi is going to provide. We think that, at scale, it'll price at less than 50 cents a mile, and it'll allow anybody to basically reduce the pain and agony of their commute at an inexpensive price. And so it'll deal a lot of people in to a system where they can effectively afford a chauffeur for less than the cost of buying their own vehicle. And same with AI. So like one of the, I think, underestimated probable developments of AI is that AI systems will serve as amazing private tutors for anyone in the world, just for essentially the cost of an internet connection. And so if you think about all of the countries in which like education is really a privileged access position, like people pay for private schools, there's not real good public education. And even where there is, like the teachers don't show up, it's really hard to like dispense good education to students, and particularly in emerging markets. Well, with an internet connection, if they can have basically one-on-one private tutoring, the only governor on kind of like the amount that they can learn is going to be their own ambition. And so I think there's going to be, broad access to technological advances as a result of the disruptive innovations in the marketplace.
Brett, before we get out of here, I want to ask you one more question considering.
And apologies for...
No, that was perfect. You did a great job. But I was wondering, I'm looking to buy a Cybertruck. And as you know, as we speak today, Tesla's down like 5% and 40% over the year, that whole stock. But, in April alone, ARK has invested like $100 million. So what is it about Tesla and that whole, situation that you guys are, so sure about, where you keep investing and keep doubling down on, on your claim?
Yeah, so the business of Tesla transforms if they're able to deliver robo-taxi capability to their cars. The way to think about it, you're going to buy a Cybertruck for them, and which is a great and amazing like vehicle. Like you'll probably be able to drive it on Mars someday, but they're getting like a one-time operating profit off selling that vehicle to you. If that can turn into a robo-taxi, then it could do, maybe 100,000 miles per year, and they'll take a platform fee just like Uber or Lyft does. And so maybe it's a 50% platform fee at $1 per mile. They'll get $50,000 in revenue per year at like software margins. And so like you can do all the math and you can conclude that instead of making money off every vehicle sold just once, they're going to make maybe 5x more money, maybe 10x more money off every vehicle they have on the road every year, assuming that they can software upgrade the vehicles so that they can drive themselves, which they claim they can, and we believe they can, and we think it's going to happen over the next couple of years. So with that as the framework, it's actually an amazing business that people don't understand right now, because right now it's just making money off of selling you a Cybertruck, which, by the way, is a pretty good business itself. But the robo-taxi business transforms what Tesla is and can become.
And that's amazing. That's all I really had.
And by the way, when you get the Cybertruck, you should get full self-driving as well. I use it all the time in LA, and it is life-changing. Just being able to not be stressed about driving around in the city it's really a remarkable product as it exists today, and we think it's going to get better.
Buy me a Cybertruck, G.
I don't know. We're transparent. I do drive a Tesla. But someone raised a very, very important point to me in terms of some of the issues that Tesla has had in his practices and his energy towards our demographic, but we continue to market his company. And so I would love to have a conversation with Elon to dispel some of those, because in our culture, like, we speak our truths. And so Elon's got some answering to do. But I do have a down payment. I'll sell it to you. No, you're not allowed to sell it to Cybertruck, but the Cybertruck is an amazing vehicle. I saw BYD did take the lead, the Chinese automaker in electric vehicles sold on the unit side. So I'm keeping a close eye on Tesla. I drove a Tesla back in 2011, was a lockout when I did an internship. I had no idea what it was. Got in the car. I should have put some money in then, but I missed out.
Well, next time we need to hit Brett before we say no to anything. So he knows where $30
exactly.
trillion is.
Yeah, he knows,
yeah,
where the future is
follow
going,
you to that.
Right?
But Brett, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your time. And honestly, thanks for what you're doing for the future. I can see myself in like the next 6 or 7 years still being fly, and I'm sure you had something to do with that. So thank you for real.
Yes. And Brett, thank you for the time. Wish we had more time. Like, you just said a whole lot. Now I'm gonna go get to read tonight. So I appreciate you for sparking that educational energy.
Point forward.